One of the more frequent questions that I receive is in regard to father and sons being members of that life in different families. And it's actually quite common and can take place for one reason or another. In some instances, the father may have been killed by a certain family, and therefore the son ends up with a different family. A great deal of viewers have shown a lot of interest in Lucchese Captain Georgie Neck Zappola. For one, because of me, it became known that he was slated for the official boss position, as well as his recent arrest in a New Jersey gambling case where the outcome is still pending. I personally never met Zappola. However, during my time in that life, especially while the Brooklyn faction was speaking about taking over the leadership, I knew Zappola was in discussions with Mikey DeSantis. And at that time, it was stated to me that if the plan was successful, it was Zappola that would be taking the actual boss position. But back then, he was still on paper, supervised release, and living in New Jersey. Over recent years, and as a result of the YouTube mob culture, numerous people, mainly content creators, have spoken about Georgie Neck. Today, I'd like to speak a little bit about his father, Georgie Sr., or better known as Georgie Rush, who was actually raised in Manhattan, unlike his son, and was not a Brooklyn guy. By the 1970s, the New York Police Department identified Zappola as an active member of a Bensonhurst Brooklyn burglary crew, which happened to be the original bypass gang associated to Gaspipe Castle. Years later, his son, Georgie Neck, would not also become part of that same crew, but was a protege of Gaspipe, who his father was very close to. Georgie Rush Zappola ran into some trouble on April 10, 1976, when he and members of the bypass crew were arrested while attempting to pull off a burglary in Manhattan's Diamond District. And something like that would be considered a big score. This took place at 125th West 46th Street, one block over from the Diamond District on 47th Street. Apparently, the police spotted them and found them in possession of burglary tools such as bolt cutters, a police radio scanner, etc. From what's known, Zappola became an inducted member of the Genovese family and was straightened out sometime after the books were reopened in 1976. As most viewers are aware, the books to induct new members were officially closed in 1957. Zappola owned a shipping container repair company called M&R Repair with fellow bypass crew member Robert Melly, and in June 1977, he threatened a competitor, John Morano, over stealing a large account, which was Japan Line Inc. And Zappola accused Morano of not sticking to a joint venture agreement where the two companies would share all Japan Line's repair work. Over time, Zappola noticed that his company was no longer receiving that work. During that meeting in June, Zappola and Mealy met with Morano and his partner, William Ross. And Zappola, as mentioned, threatened Morano and then pulled out a pistol and hit him in the face with it, cracking Morano's tooth in the process. And for good measure, he hit him a second time, which knocked Morano back into a chair. He then told Melly to search Morano to see if he was wearing a wire, because if he was, he stated, "I'll kill them right now." And his assumption wasn't far off. Although Morano wasn't wearing a wire that day, he actually was cooperating with the FBI in another matter. So naturally, following this incident, he went to the FBI and reported everything that took place. At the next meeting, Morano met Melly alone, and basically, Melly explained to him that he and Zappola wanted $39,000 from him. Morano also spoke to Zappola over the phone. Obviously, it was recorded. And at one point, he asked him, "George, what's the bottom line?" But Zappola must have been a little leery while on the phone and only warned him not to take his kindness for weakness. On June 27, 1977, the four men all met again at Ponte's restaurant on Manhattan's Lower West Side. Zappola came with Melly, and Morano showed up with Ross. At that meeting, Zappola now told Morano that he wanted $42,000 and claimed that Morano was responsible for M&R's losses. But at the end of the meeting, Melly told him it would be $40,000 and he had till the upcoming Friday to pay them. When the legal hammer fell, Zappola and Melly were indicted in a racketeering indictment where one of the charges, to no surprise, was extortion. They were ultimately convicted in separate trials as the cases were severed and received 5-year sentences. However, those convictions were reversed on appeal in April 1981. And it seems like the government appealed as well and had that decision overturned, which I'll speak about later. On February 3rd, 1982, a guy by the name of Mark Hertzan was in the entrance hallway of his Greenwich Village apartment at 41 Great Jones Street in New York City. And while waiting for the elevator, someone shot him 3 times in the chest and head. He had recently inherited a 300-acre horse farm and came into a lot of money. He also owned 2 boats, which were used to smuggle marijuana. It's believed that his death was the result of an unpaid loan shark loan of $90,000, and Zappola was suspected of killing him. During the same time, Zappola had even bigger headaches. 2 associates of his crew, 2 brothers, had shot a Gambino associate named Nicky Cowboy Momando. This was allegedly over burglary and drug money. Allegedly, Zappola also tried to shoot and kill Moramando. His 2 associates were also plotting to kill a Gambino member, which apparently got back to the Gambinos. To put this into perspective, Zappola's associates attempting to kill another associate was common, especially back in the 80s. Where they crossed the line was plotting to hit a member, which is the death penalty, especially back then. But it would be Chin Gigante who saved the brothers. They were the sons of former West Side member Paulie DiPietro, who the West Side actually killed years before. Zappola was in the wrong because he knew Moramando was an associate of another family, and he escalated the matter, which was something that the West Side don't take too kindly to. Zappola disappeared on June 22, 1982, for unknown reasons. Whether it was over the Moramando incident or for some other reason, like his scheduled surrender to begin serving his 9-year sentence for that racketeering and extortion case. Obviously, the West Side, for some reason, viewed him as a liability. On July 1st, 1982, a severed head washed up on a private beach in Oyster Bay, Long Island. A day earlier, a severed hand had also washed up in East Northport, Long Island. Coincidentally, it happened to be an actor during his youth who discovered the hand. According to actor Chris Messina, I grew up in Northport, Long Island. I grew up on Macklemore Road, about a block from the Long Island Sound. A buddy and I walked the Sound. It was very Stand By Me. We found a hand that washed up on the beach. I'm sure Chris Messina, at the time, and probably still to today, didn't know that that hand belonged to Georgie Rush Zappola, a member of the Genovese family. If you haven't liked this video yet, please take the time now and give it a like, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. Anyone who'd like to show appreciation for videos like this, or more importantly, help me to continue making them, you could donate with the Super Thanks icon down below or through the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. Let me mention my blog, also called Sit Down News, especially for those of you who still enjoy reading. It can be found at sitdownnews.com and is a paid subscription. After his father's death, Georgie Neck was about 22 years old. Most likely, due to what transpired with his father, he distanced himself from the West Side and became a Lucchese associate on the gas pipe. Presently, he's facing a gambling case and will more than likely take a plea. As mentioned, he's a Lucchese captain, as he was years ago, as a member of the family's Brooklyn faction. It was well established during the Lucchese transition that took place in 2017 that Georgie Neck would take the boss position. Whether or not he still wants or will take the position remains unknown. In the meantime, he's an unofficial member of the family's administration with influence on all decision-making. Like many young men whose fathers were members, Georgie Neck followed his father's footsteps.